So in the last class, we had seen about the process of selection, okay, and various tests in selection and various interviewing methods, and we had also looked into factors influencing selection. Now let us move on to challenges in selection. Okay. So here, first challenge in selection, my dear students, it is job-related criteria. It is the first challenge in selection. Are you able to hear me, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first challenge in selection is job related criteria. So here effective employee selection basically involves matching the requirement of the job to the skills of job applicants. Okay. So here you have to have the exact match of the skills imbibed by the person to the job which is vacant. Okay. So while this seems very straightforward, okay, you feel that okay, it is so easy, right? So you're just going to see the skills in the resume and or by, in the CV, and you're going to match it to the job, but it may not be very easy as it looks for. Okay, so the process basically represents a lot of challenges, right? So here hiring managers may not have the human resource background necessary to translate job duties into specific hiring criteria. Okay, so you'll be having any number of job duties. For example, you're going to hire based on job description, right, or job specification, whatever it is. So you cannot simply hire a particular person just because he matches few criteria. No, you have to see to it that 90% of the criteria is matched between the job and the applicant. Okay, then only you can go for hiring a particular person. Okay, so for instance, if you could take an example here, if a customer service position requires strong customer service skills, right? So customer service position, if it requires strong customer service skills, what does it mean in objective terms, right? So better organization can clarify the specific job related criteria. So just on one particular criteria, having strong customer service skills, you cannot judge and you cannot hire the particular person on the customer service position. There are n number of other job related criteria also which are to be taken into consideration. Okay, so here you can have to have a clarification of specific job related criteria required in a job candidate. Okay, and the more likely they will be finding qualified competent employees and avoid potential claims of discrimination and hiring based on reasons other than job competencies, right? So here if you have specific things which are being put forth, then 100% you can see to it that the HR hires the right person, or else there will be a lot of uh, discrimination in hiring which may be happening. Okay, based on m number of reasons. Okay, based on the pressure on HR, or based on the pressure of unions on HR, or based on the pressures of consultants on HR. Okay, so taking all this into consideration, there may be bias also which can be done. So all this will lead to wrong hire. Okay, so job related criteria is very very important to be understood by the hiring manager. And the second challenges in selection is managerial training. Okay, so here, the managers who are responsible for hiring an employee, okay, need to be trained about employee selection techniques, okay, as well as what they can and cannot do during the hiring process. That is to be clearly specified and trained to the hiring managers, okay, or all the managers who are going to recruit, okay, or will be involved in the recruitment process or selection process. They have to be trained on various techniques of an employee selection, and they have to be trained on various criteria of selection. Okay, and what are do's and don'ts of hiring in hiring process, that is to be trained to the managers. Okay, so area of asking employee question is one that often comes up, right? So this is one particular area wherein the manager who is in the recruitment process should be trained on. Okay, he should know how to ask the questions, he should know what are the various types of questions, like open-ended questions, close-ended questions, etc., and all those things, right? So for those not skilled in employee selection, for the people who are not skilled in employee selection, it can be challenging to stay on the right side of the law by asking only those questions that represent BFQs, that is bona fide questions or bona fide job related criteria. Okay, you cannot simply ask any question, you have to ask job related or job specific questions. For that you need to be well prepared. Okay, so for that training is required. If you're not trained, then it becomes a challenge for the manager to become well prepared to ask the questions, right? So large companies basically involve HR departments, which benefits from the expertise and involvement of their HR staff. So here, most of the companies, or the larger companies, what they do, they involve the HR departments who can have a better understanding of how to ask the questions, okay, and they'll be having the involvement of experts also. So but in smaller organizations or smaller companies, okay, they can take step to ensure that at least one or two managers receive appropriate training in employee selection and can serve as a role models and coach for other managers who need to go through the process of hiring. Okay, so here it is very very important that you train the people who are in the process of hiring. Okay, and then the third challenge is testing and disparate impact. Okay, so psychological and other forms of testing may be used in employee selection, and these tests can be helpful. Okay, so you'll be having aptitude test, psychological test, and all those things, right? So here you can use these all tests, okay, which are very much useful in employee selection, and these tests really can be helpful. Okay, so they may also represent challenges, right? These tests may also represent challenges if they have not been determined to avoid any potential for disparate treatment. Okay, so if you are asking something, some questions which are very unrelevant, which are not relevant itself to the job, or which may be provoking the candidate to have a negative attitude towards the company, if such type of things are there, okay, which will affect the psychology of the candidate, then probably it poses a challenge in selection. In other words, so test need to be created and administered. Okay, so the questions in the test need to be created and administered in such a way that they do not, okay, however, unintentionally result in lower score or scores that could be viewed negatively among protected groups. Okay, based on sex, race, and age, for instance, right? So here, basically, you need to frame the questions keeping the job criteria into consideration. You cannot go on setting very difficult questions wherein the candidates cannot score itself. Okay, so that type of questionnaire should not be set in, right? So that type of test should not be conducted, right? So that is one of the challenge in selection. You have to see to it that the questionnaire or the questions which you have prepared can be easily understood by the candidate. Okay, then afterwards you have the next challenge in selection, that is checking the references, right? So reference checking represents significant challenge during employee selection process. Okay, so first, it isn't that prospective employee will provide reference from anyone who would offer negative feedback about them. Obviously, you if you are being asked to give in reference, you will give the reference of the person who is totally positive towards you. You will not go and give the reference who is totally negative towards you. Okay, so that is one of the problem or one of the challenge which the HR faces. Okay, then secondly, privacy issues can be raised if employers contact people whose name have not been provided by the prospective employee. So if probably whenever you are applying for a job and you're filling the application bank, so references will be asked from you. Okay, so if you have given two three references and the HR has called someone else apart from these two three people, then it creates a privacy issue. So you cannot call anyone, so you have to call the person who is being referred as references in the resume of the prospective candidate, and that is very much required. Then finally, when connected with the references, however, they have been attained. Okay, so obviously, when you are collecting with the reference, obviously you will are going to get positive feedback from the reference. Okay, so there may be hesitant on the part of the references to be eitherly forthcoming in their response for fear and legal legibility. Okay, that fear also will be there in the person who is going to give the reference to the candidate. Okay, because he may fear that in future there may be certain responses of fear or liability. Okay, so he may be sued to the court of law also. To that extent, it may go. So here, reference checking, my dear students, it is very much understood that references. Okay, references are being given by the candidates, and the employer has to call only those references whom the candidate has given. Okay, now this is all about challenges in selection. Coming down to the last part of module 2, that is application tracking system using MS Excel learning. I hope you all know about MS Excel. Okay, so I've already attended various various sessions on MS Excel or maybe advanced Excel and all these things, right? So Microsoft Excel is essential software program of Microsoft Office suite. Okay, so Microsoft Excel is a essential software program of Microsoft Office suite. Okay, and it is being developed by Microsoft. So it is one of the most powerful spreadsheet software that uses rows and columns to organize the data. So this is nothing but MS Excel is nothing but a spreadsheet wherein the rows and columns are organized to get the right data. Okay. Then moving on to next, my dear students. Okay. Application tracking system using MS Excel. If you could see here, if you could see here, there are what are the uses of MS Excel? One is data entry and shortage. Okay, then performing a calculations. Okay, then data analysis and interpretation, then reporting and visualization. That is another thing. What again, analytics, which is going called as dashboard. Okay, you have something called as dashboard. As in car, you have dashboard which shows the fuel or any problem in the engine, any problem with the door locking system, what is the speed of the car, what is the average being given, everything is being shown in a dashboard. In the same way, HR analytics software also will be having a dashboard where in one shot everything will be visible. Okay, so visualizations are being put forth. That is what we say: data analysis and interpretation, reporting and visualization, right? And then accounting and budgeting, collection and verification of business data, then calendars and schedules, administrative and managerial duties, forecasting, automotive repetitive task. Okay, ART. So these are the various uses of MS Excel. Okay. So here, when we speak about application tracking system under using MS Excel learning, so first thing it comes into our mind is data entry and storage. Okay, so uh, see, softwares are all about data, right? So when there is a need for data entry and data storage, Excel becomes an excellent software for the basic needs. Okay, so Excel is a great option to store lots of data. You can have any number of data in Excel. Right? Size of the Excel file is limited based on the device computing capacity. So based on the device, the size of the Excel will be limited, and memory availability. Based on that, also the size of the file will be limited. So generally, Excel worksheets can have. Okay, so generally Excel worksheets can have 10,48,576 rows and 16,384 columns in a table form. Okay, so once the data is organized in an Excel file, we can use it for various purposes. So once you organize the data in the Excel form, you can use it for various purposes. For example, if you put forth the employee data, okay, employee data of each and every employee in your organization in an Excel form, you can use the same data for performance appraisal, you can use the same data for training, you can use the same data for a salary in a compensation or increments, decrements, promotions. Okay, for all those things, all these decisions, you can use that particular data. So once the data is organized very well in Excel file, we can use it for various purposes, right? So apart from this, features like data form in Excel make inputting and viewing data more accessible. Okay, so there are certain data forms in Excel which will make you view the data in a more accessible way. Okay, then users can build customized data entry forms according to their business requirements. So here, the software is such that the user can build their own customer data entry forms. Okay, which meets the requirements of the business. Okay, so moreover, we can also use Excel to create different lists of various needs. For example, customer mailing list, employee works report, employees shift rotation, etc. All this can be done. Then you have performing calculators. Okay, so MS Excel has inbuilt function or formulae that can be used to with the data. Okay, so there are more than 450 functions in Excel that are categorized accordingly. Some most common functions in Excel function are uh, the library, which includes financial, logical, text, date and time, okay, maths and trigonometry. So we can use necessary functions or formula on any row, column, and cell within the spreadsheet. Okay. So we can also create our custom formulae. Okay. So you can have your customized formula for some programming skills or using macros in addition to the existing function. Okay, so we do not need to do the entire task again and again. So once you have stored it in the computer, so it becomes safe there, and whenever you want, you can take it out, get the data from that particular uh, listing, right? File. So here, my dear students, a lot of calculations also can be done in this, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and you can get the best use of Excel. Okay. Then second thing which comes when it comes to application tracking system using MX Excel learning, second thing which is very important is data analysis and interpretation. Data analysis is an essential part of MS Excel. Okay. So analyzing the data helps making decisions for improvements, right? So you have to go in for analyzing the data, understanding what exactly the data gives the meaning. That is very much required. And then you can go in for using features, right? So you can use formulae and pivot tables to effectively analyze the data and interpret the numbers, right? So by applying features like sort, filter, swapping out data segments and table can be managed more systematically to carry out required data fields. So you can get the required data field based on sort, filter, swapping. I hope you all know all these things, right? So furthermore, we can take the screenshot of a specific part, attach it to the particular area in the Excel to create interactive summarized report with precise communicable results. You can go in for putting in graphs, charts, all those things, right? So that's what we say data analysis and interpretation. And then comes an application tracking system, that is reporting and visualization, right? So that's what I said, dashboard of HR analytics or HR softwares. You have a dashboard wherein you get all the data in one shot, right? So charts, graphs, and other visualizations basically can make it very simple and more attractive and meaningful, right? So it is always better way to use different charts to display the results in a summarized form. So you can display the results in a summarized form if you have proper charts, and that too with more attraction. Okay. So a simple chart can sometimes cover and express the desired results than the massive tables with relatively long data ranges, right? So you can have a simple chart which covers certain things, okay, instead of taking everything into consideration, right? So visualization basically is very helpful. Visualization is the way it looks, okay. So MS Excel provides a wide range of inbuilt chart templates. So you have pie chart, okay, bar chart, and all those things are different plotted graphs and all those things, right? So we can easily use this without many efforts, right? You have to fill the data and it will put forth it in the chart and bring in front of you, right? So we need to select the template, which template you want to go in for, and put the data, carry out that particular chart in our Excel file. Then additionally, the software also offers various tools to create customized styles like color, style, access value, text comments, etc., right? And then the next use of application tracking system using MS Excel is accounting and budgeting. So accounting and budgeting managers most often use MS Excel to maintain customer records. So they go in for maintaining the customer records, and the easy way to organize the data and keep the data with the simple editing tools of Excel software, right? So basically, Excel comes with many accounting and budgeting templates that can be used and modified accordingly. So some advanced templates may also contain some formula or functions to program basic to complex calculations. Thus, Excel basically is an efficient accounting and budgeting software and helps us to synthesize quick results in corresponding fields. Okay. Then collection and verification of data. That is also one part of application tracking system. So what you're going to do here is you go in for implementing multiple systems such as uh, CRM, okay, then inventory, etc., to manage their database and logs separately. Fine. So there can be different softwares for specific tasks. Fine. So MS Excel is a popular and widely used software. Most third party business softwares program are designed to adapt the characteristics of MS Excel, right? So record from most software can be exported into Excel. So you can, as the capacity is very huge, as I said, 10 lakhs rows and 60, no, and thousands the columns, right? So what happens is it has the storing capacity, okay, and easy access also is possible. So Excel can further help in editing the data, such as removing or deleting duplicate entries. Organizing the data in an Excel is very much easier. Okay, you can organize the data very easily, you can select the data very easily. There are n number of formulas which do given, right? So apart from this, MS Excel can be easily managed by different people due to its simple and interactive user interface. So it is user friendly. Okay, so people can also learn this software very quickly. Okay, so collecting the data from various sources and verifying their details become more manageable with Excel. Then calendars and schedules, obviously you will be having a well formed calendar which has been created, or you can create a well formed calendar. So calendars and schedules basically offer some auto features. Excel offers some auto features that can help in developing sequential dates or days accordingly. Okay, so whenever you are using Excel, you can see this. There will be one particular icon called as lot of features will be put forth in that. Okay, so a lot of formulas will be there. Formula, in that formula you can go in for putting forth the candidate calendar. Okay, and once the calendar is created, you can also use comments or text to add schedules or tasks for specific datas and days accordingly, right? So here basically the goal is using calendars, companies can also effectively set their goals, right? So they can also create year-wise reports for their business processes in the same worksheet, or different worksheet depending on their data size. Okay. So big thing about MS Excel is that some inbuilt ready-to-use calendar templates are already available in MS Excel. You are just going to choose it and you are going to select it, right? So that is very helpful in MS Excel. Then you have administrative and managerial duties. Okay. So here you go in for creating and maintaining multiple business processes. Okay, so MS Excel is a solution for this, right? So software is just not just used for record keeping anymore. So it is beneficial in office administration for many other tasks such as invoicing, paying bill, keeping track of profit, loss, expenses, etc. So beside this, office administration also go in for using MS Excel to store data required for financial reports, accounting, business analysis, and employee progress report. Okay, so MS Excel basically is all-purpose software and manages at most office activities. Okay, forecasting, then this is where the Excel plays a major role. Okay, forecasting what would be the demand and supply of manpower in future. Okay, so business needs to organize the data and review it frequently for the continuous growth and improvements. Okay, so generating continuous reports can be beneficial towards further assumptions, right? Sorry, future assumptions. So this means that assumptions can be made at some fundamental levels by using past data. So you can go for assuming certain things based on the past data. So Excel becomes very beneficial here to find the correct input for the specific results. Okay, so with Excel you can give the right input because the entire data is stored in Excel. Okay, so we are planning to so you can get the specific results which you are planning to achieve, right? So in particular it can be done using a feature, goal seek analysis. That this is a feature in MS Excel. So by properly giving the right target objective, we can identify what needs to be done for further steps to achieve the set target. Okay, then you have automated repetitive task. So Excel becomes a powerful tool, and there are some advanced features to solve complex problems with ease. Okay, so one such feature in MS Excel is Visual Basics (VB). Okay, that offers developers to implement an advanced skill to automate routine tasks. Okay, so you're going to automate the routine task here, make it much effective, right? Once we know the advanced level in MS Excel, we can automate the reports using the Microsoft Visual Basic Editor. Okay, and the editor mainly supports VBA, Visual Basic for Applications coding language, and based on that they go in for a repetitive task. Okay, so this is end of module 2, my dear students. Any doubts, any questions related to module 2? I know module 2 is very big. Okay, so any doubts, any questions related to module 2? Yes, students, any doubts, any questions related to module 2?
No,
Sanjana?
ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
No, ma'am.
If you have any doubts individually, if you want to ask, you can give me a message on WhatsApp number. Okay, so I will try to answer to your questions or your doubts. Fine. So let us go in for a particular case study about selection, my dear students. Right. So I'll just looking for this case study. I'll just read this case study. You can just listen, and then I want you all to reply to this particular case. Okay. So here, lack of geniusness in reference letter. Okay. So Mr. Sundaran and Mr. Sundaran, a BTech mechanical engineer and MBA marketing. Okay, joined a big manufacturing company. So this particular person who is an MBA in marketing and BTech in mechanical engineering joined a big manufacturing company producing two wheelers in 2008 as assistant purchase officer. So he joined as assistant purchase officer in a company which produces two wheelers in 2008. So company had a turnover of 120 billions. So a company had a turnover of rupees 120 billion. So it employed around 5,000 employees. Okay, for which about 600 were in supervisory and the managerial cadre. Okay, so it had 5,000 employees with them. So 600 were in supervisory and managerial cadre. Okay, remaining were into the various other category. Okay, so company had been in existence for the last about 1.5 decade. Okay, so Mr. Sundaram proved his worth and was appreciated for procuring the device ancillaries for the company at reasonable rate. Okay, so within a short span of 2 years, right, uh, the within a short span of 2 years, he was promoted as a purchase officer. So here what he did. Okay, so Mr. Sundaran proved his worth. Okay, and was appreciated by the purchasing department for getting the desired ancillaries for the company at a reasonable rate. So within a short period of 2 years, he was promoted as purchase officer, and in 2012 he was further promoted as deputy purchase manager. Okay, so that's what the promotion which was being given. Okay, however, his super boss, Mr. Nandkarni, okay, director of purchase, started suspecting the integrity of Mr. Sundaran. Okay, he started suspecting the integrity of Mr. Sundaran, as he noticed a very high standard of living of Mr. Sundaran, which was much beyond the salary he was receiving from the company. Okay, so this was the doubt which came in the mind of the director of purchase. So Mr. Nandkarni tried his best to get some proof leading to the establishment of corruption against Mr. Sundaram. So he thought there is some illegal activity which he is doing, and because of which he has grown so rich and his attitude has changed and all these things. And then he went in for understanding or gathering proof for his corruption, whatever it is. Okay, although he could not get any proof, he was more than convinced that Mr. Sundaram was not above board. Okay, so after a few months, Mr. Sundaran received a call from interviewer. Okay, so after a few months, Mr. Sundaran received the call. Okay, I'm sorry, students. There was some call here. So after a few months, Mr. Sundaran received a call for interview for the post of senior purchase manager from a company which was also in manufacturing of two wheelers. Okay, so that was the call which he got, and was a competitor of company where Mr. Sundaran was working. Okay, so he got a call from the competitor company saying that there is a post for senior purchase manager. Would you like to join? So Mr. Kumar, the deputy director HR, was responsible for recruitment of senior officers in the company, right? So Mr. Kumar, the deputy HR, was responsible for recruiting of senior officers in the company. Mr. Sundaran received the interview call from. Okay, so he formed a very favorable impression about Mr. Sundaran in his CV and was quite impressive. Okay, so especially the reference letter Mr. Sundaran had from Mr. Nandkarni. Okay, so he had a reference letter from Mr. Nandkarni, director purchase of his company. So Mr. Nandkarni had appreciated. Okay, Mr. Nandkarni had appreciated the. Okay, let us go for the part two. Appreciated the achievements of Mr. Sundaran and also recommended his candidature to whomsoever it may be concerned. Okay, so Mr. Nandkarni had issued that letter of recommendation not because that he wanted to favor Mr. Sundaran, but because Mr. Nandkarni, wanted to get rid of Mr. Sundaran as integrity of the latter was suspected by the former. So here Mr. Nandakarni just wanted Mr. Sundaran to go out of the organization as he suspected the integrity of Mr. Sundaran. He thought that Mr. Sundaran was doing some illegal activity and that's the reason he was growing so rich. Okay, and probably he just doubted everything and that's the reason he just wanted to get rid of Mr. Sundaran. That's the reason he gave a reference letter to Mr. Sundaran stating that his achievements are remarkable. Okay, then afterwards in this, Mr. Nandkarni did not mention anything about his suspicion of integrity of Mr. Sundaran in his letter of reference. Okay, so Mr. Kumar, who was the deputy HR manager, okay, along with other members of the selection committee, interviewed Mr. Sundaran for about 45 minutes. Okay, so attaching a great weightage to the letter of recommendation, Mr. Sundaran had attached with his CV. Okay, with his CV, Mr. Kumar selected him. Okay, so Mr. Kumar selected that particular person, Mr. Sundaran. So Mr. Kumar's office did not make any other efforts to verify the credentials. They didn't make any efforts to verify the credentials, especially the integrity of Mr. Sundaran. Okay, they didn't go for understanding what exactly it is. Okay, so they just blindly accepted the reference letter being given by Mr. Nandakarani, and probably based on the interview, whatever Mr. Sundaran faced, they were very satisfied and they selected him. So Mr. Sundaran joined the new organization as senior purchase manager and delivered good results. Okay. So, however, about a year, Mr. Kumar came to know that for certain consideration, Mr. Sundaran was showing favor to the suppliers who used to supply ancillaries in bulk to the new company. Okay, so he was doing Mr. Sundaram after he joined as senior purchase manager. He was doing very good and he was delivering very good results. Okay, so after about a year, maybe after 1 year, Mr. Kumar did understand or he came to know that Mr. Sundaran was taking some consideration from the suppliers. Consideration is nothing but money from the suppliers to show favors to the money from the suppliers. Okay, to in bulk to new company. Okay, so here what he was doing is he was taking money from the suppliers to take their supply. Okay, so Mr. Sundaran had been working with Mr. Kumar, alerted his office and asked it to get the matter investigated confidentially. Okay, Mr. Kumar got a suspicion and he went in for asking. Okay, he went in for asking the other people whoever are there to go in for a inquiry. Okay, confidentially without understanding, without Mr. Sundar and coming to know about it. Okay, and within a couple of months it was established that Mr. Sundaran was indulging in unfair practices. Okay, so consequently Mr. Sundaran was asked to find a job elsewhere. Okay, I hope the case is understood, students. Okay, let us move on to the first question here. What went wrong in the selection process followed by the new company where Mr. Sundaran was interviewed for the post of senior purchase manager? And also point out who should be held responsible for the lapse in this connection. Yes, students, can you answer this? Sneha Kamte, please unmute yourself, Sneha. Sneha, please unmute yourself. Purnima, please unmute yourself, Purnima. Purnima, can you unmute yourself? Purnima Joshi. Asha Bikkannavar, can you unmute yourself? Yes, students, case studies are dealt for you to understand it. Okay. So whether it is right or wrong, no issues. Please answer. Kirti, Prachi, Pranali, can you please unmute yourself and tell me what is the answer for this? Have you understood the case first of all, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, question.
Yeah.
Sh-
Question is, what went wrong in the selection process by the new company? Okay. What exactly went wrong in the selection process followed by new company where Mr. Sundaran was interviewed for the post of senior purchase manager? Okay, and you should also point out who should be held responsible for the lapse of this connection. Is it Mr. Kumar, who is the deputy HR manager of a new company, should be responsible for it, or is it Mr. Nandakarni, who had given the reference letter, okay, to get rid of Mr. Sundaran, okay, who is really responsible for this, okay, and what exactly went wrong in the selection process? Can you please reply back?
In selection process, they did not check background of candidate and also reference of candidate. They
Very good.
didn't see the
Very good.
candidate reference.
Very good. So that is one thing which went wrong there. So here, when Mr. Nandkarni had given a reference letter, so Mr. Kumar thought that okay, the previous employer has given the reference letter and he is appreciating his achievements. So he didn't go for cross verifying it. Okay. So it was the big mistake of Mr. Kumar, who was a deputy HR manager. Right. So Mr. Kumar should be held responsible for this lapse. Right. So, what are the remedial steps should be taken by the company so that this lapse is not repeated in the selection process in future? Can anyone answer this? What remedial steps can be taken so that this type of problem doesn't occur in future? Yes, students, can anyone answer this? It's a simple answer here, no issues. If you're wrong, also no problem. Please answer.
They should check candidate's reference and also his background.
Very good. They should go for checking the candidate's reference and background. Purnima, please unmute yourself. Purnima, are you there? Very good. Shubham, cross verification of the employee is required. Very good. That step can be put forth. Fine. Anyone else? Neha, are you there? Pranali?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you answer this? And you have any other inputs for this? What remedial steps can be taken? Okay, great. So this would be the last case study I'm dealing with, my dear students. Henceforth, I'll not deal with any case studies. If you are not replying back, there is no point in dealing with case studies, right? So next, I will go with only the, syllabus and the modules, and just go in for presentations and all those things, right? So I feel only few students are asking for replying for the case study. So those students who ask for the case study, I will be dealing with case study only to those people, right? Then moving on to the next, for the students who are ready to reply for this answer case, right? How would you comment on the genuineness of Mr. Nandkarni with reference to letter of recommendation issued by him in favor of Mr. Sundaran? Does it have any unethical elements involved in it? Can you answer this? How would you comment on genuineness of Mr. Nandakarni with reference letter of recommendation? So he had given letter of recommendation. So he had recommended him to that particular company. Okay. So can you ask question on genuineness of that recommendation, or can you say that it is unethical element? Can you call Mr. Nandkarni? Can you ask him that it is an unethical element in spite of you knowing this, why you have given or why you have recommended this particular person to my company? Can you ask it? Is it possible?
Yes, ma'am. He is responsible because he give reference to his letter, candidate's letter. So he is responsible for that unethical element.
Okay. So
If
here,
we know him completely, then he should give reference to that candidate. Otherwise, he should not give.
okay. But can he may say that when you ask this particular question, he may say that in my company his achievements were really good and he didn't have any unethical practices because there is no proof for that. Please understand, in this case, my dear students, it is clearly given that Mr. Nandakarni didn't have any proof. He had a doubt, but he didn't get any proof for his for this particular person. Okay, so he didn't get any proof that Mr. Sundaran is unethical. Okay, so he had a doubt, but he didn't get any proof. Okay, so finally, to get rid of this particular person, he gave a very good recommendation in a letter and sent him. So here you cannot ask, okay, the company, the previous company, Mr. Nandakarani, that why you have given this type of letter of recommendation when you know that he is unethical. Okay, so here, my dear students, it is to clearly understood. You cannot ask. If you ask also, his reply will be such. Okay, Mr. Nandakarni will say that no, I didn't have any proof regarding that, and I've only seen his achievements in the organization. So from an officer's position, he has come down to a senior officer's position in my organization within a short span of time with all the achievements. Okay, so we don't have any proof wherein he wanted to move to your company. I have recommended based on his achievements. That's it. This is the answer he will give. Okay, so here it is pure fault of Mr. Kumar. Yes,
Hmm.
pure fault of Mr. Kumar, deputy HR manager. He had to check the references from two, three people. He had to cross verify the things, but he didn't do that. Okay, so he just believed Mr. Nandkarani's letter and he directly appointed that particular person. Okay, so these are various problems which happens in selection, my dear students. So many a times company has to compromise on the selection of the candidates. So company have to compromise on the candidates because of these certain faults. So reference checking and background checking is very very important when it comes to the selection of any candidate. Okay, and in selection process, reference and background is taken an utmost care, and after checking the background of that particular candidate, after checking the reference of that particular candidate, then only that candidate will be appointed in the organization. Okay, so references and background play a major role, right? So any other questions, my dear students? So this would be the end of module 2. Okay, and module 3 will start in the next class. We'll start with module 3 and then we'll move on fast with the other content of the syllabus. Okay. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can please uh, type the questions and ask on WhatsApp number, my personal number. I'll try to reply back. If you're not in a position to ask it in the class here, you can directly contact me or you can directly message me. Okay. So I hope, my dear students, module 1 and module 2 is clearly understood by you all. Right. Thank you very much, students.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.